What is up, comic fans? Welcome to the Legion of Comics. I'm Mark, and today I wanted to take a stop and a pause and to take a look at Supergirl, with her all over the headlines from James Gunn announcing a big budget film based on Tom King's Woman of Tomorrow to the brand new Legion of Superheroes animated film that just came out this past week with Supergirl forefronting it. It made me stop and think of how confusing her history and her journey through comic books has been. So let's stop and take a look at all that. But first, check this out. Shout out to the channel sponsor, Big Time Collectibles. Be sure to check them out at their website or follow them on social media. They sponsor the monthly giveaway for the channel members. And also, if you need anything cleaned or pressed, hit up my good friend Justin over on Instagram. For as little as $10 a book, he can hook it up. Let him know you found him via the channel and take advantage of that buy two, get one free promo he's running. And also a big shout out and thank you to all the channel members. All right, so if you need a direct link to the sponsors, they are in the description of all of my videos. So let's get into this. So like I said, Supergirl's been hitting the headlines, and I actually just got a book in that made me stop and want to do this video. And we'll take a look at that toward the end. And what it was is I picked this up from a good buddy, Peddling Pete's Auctions, and I was wanting to figure out how to do a video instead of just doing a basic unboxing video. And between buying that book and making this video, all the announcements happened with James Gunn adapting Tom King's Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, and building the whole DCU movie universe, as well as getting that brand new animated film, Legion of Superheroes, forefronting this character of Supergirl. So I figured let's just actually look at the history of the character, because it is a wild one at that. It goes back to the earliest origins of comic books almost, with Superboy issue number 5 from 1949. Now, this is not Supergirl in any traditional sense of the word. This is simply Queen Lucy from the country of Borgonia, who was spirited away to the States, and she just had natural athletic abilities that helped her participate in this one-off story, just giving her a little nickname, Supergirl. She was not Supergirl in any other sense of just having that nickname, and it was a one-and-done thing. But the popularity of having a female Supergirl character was not wasted on DC Comics. They did start to think they needed to do something. And in 1958, they actually tried it out when we first meet Supergirl as we would recognize her. And this is only a prototype for the character. This is not an actual person in any sense of the word. Inside of the pages of this story, Superman and Jimmy help a man who was saving a bunch of Indian relics. And for their assistance, he gave Jimmy one of the relics. This totem, when wished upon, would grant you a wish. And he wished for Superman to have a companion with his same strengths and abilities. Thus, this Supergirl was born. And she was called Supergirl, had the same costume, everything. And Superman was not prepared for the help, and she was not prepared for the task. And they kind of butted heads all throughout the story and everything. And eventually, she saved Superman from some kryptonite, fatally wounding herself till Jimmy wished her away to ease her pain. And it wasn't very long we had to wait, because in 1959, we get the first preview inside of the pages of Action Comics 251 for what will be coming the following issue. Inside of this book, we actually get an ad for 252, which will come to be known as the famous issue, which is the first appearance of Kara Zor-El, the cousin of Kal-El or Clark Kent, the Kryptonian Supergirl that will stick around and make waves and be relevant all the way till today. She became very popular. She was definitely a fun character, to the point of getting her own solo series in 1972. It ran for a couple of years and eventually ended in 1974. But after this series ended, they wasn't lost on the fact that people were fans of Kara Zor-El. And it's important to point out that we did get Power Girl first appearing in All-Star Comics issue 58 in 1976. Now, Power Girl is not Kara Zor-El, at least not of this Earth that we've seen so far. The Earth 2 characters, the JSA and the Golden Age characters, this is the Kara Zor-El of that Earth. So she makes her appearance here. And she has a very complex and complicated story through comics as well that would really warrant its own video on her. But I didn't want to do this video without at least pointing out that this is Kara, but of a different Earth. Now, the Kara that we know and love would come to meet her demise inside of the mega event known as Crisis on Infinite Earths. Issue number 7 in 1985 has that famous and iconic cover by George Perez, which I believe is even an homage to an X-Men cover. But this is the end of her road. This is where it all ended for a lot of characters at the time, as well as the massive multiverse for DC Comics. And this would kind of be the way it was for a minute, but not too long. because this is where it gets really weird. If her origin isn't complicated enough from pseudo characters or tryout characters, this is where it gets legitimately nuts. In 1988, the brand new Supergirl would hit the scenes, and it's not Kara Zor-El. It's not anybody. This is a character known as Matrix. And in 1988, in Superman issue number 8, we first get introduced to her. Now, if you want to know what's different and weird about her, buckle up and hold on, because here's the convoluted, not necessarily convoluted, but the outlandish origin, which is definitely a sign of her time. In a pocket universe, 3 Kryptonians escaped the Phantom Zone and tried to take over that universe's Earth. In that universe, Lex Luthor was a good guy. So he used an artificial life form called the protoplasmic matrix. And what he did with that is he created a redheaded woman who resembled his true love. That universe's deceased Lana Lang. He also took the memories of her due to her synaptic pathways being copied and put into this creature. So Lex had his own Lana Lang being created, but he gave her the abilities and the physiology of this person called Superman, who he had seen in another universe, looking through inventions of his into another universe. So if you could keep up with all of that, we have a whole separate universe. The Kryptonians escape the Phantom Zone. Good guy Lex takes his protoplasmic matrix and forms a creature. He took this blob and created his own deceased love and gave it her memories, and then downloaded it with the abilities of this Superman that he just viewed in another universe. So that's wild. Super wild. That's the origin of the Supergirl that we would get for a while. And her story would end when we get to the next iteration of Supergirl. So we would not get Kara back for a while. We're post-crisis now. She's dead. She's gone. And now we have the Matrix. And next, we would see Supergirl in the form of Linda Danvers, who has an absolutely outrageous story attached to her as well. Peter David wrote this, and he didn't really want to go and lean into creating Kara or trying to recreate Kara. He wanted to do something so different that fans wouldn't feel like it was a carbon copy of her. And she has crazy stories and origins attached to her with like Satanism and cults and angels and demons and all this stuff. She's like, and she ends up getting attempted to be sacrificed to this whole demonic thing. And Matrix Supergirl comes in and saves her and actually fuses with her by trying to save her life. She had a big wound and she tries to heal it and fuses with her, and it gives her these abilities, long story short. And it does get more complex with that. And she's this whole fallen angel with 2 other fallen angels. And it just gets wild. There was not a Supergirl in any traditional sense of the word, but Gary Frank did the art on this, and it's definitely something I'm interested to go back and look at in more detail. Now, Kara would see the light of day thanks to Superman in the animated series, and that would be in the Superman Adventures issue number 21 in 1998. So straight from the animated cartoon, they were doing companion comics, and they brought over Supergirl from that animated universe into comic books. So this is the first appearance of the animated universe's Supergirl in print form. But don't have no fear, because in 2004, we would get the reintroduction of Kara to the main universe in Jeff Loeb and Michael Turner's run on Superman Batman. And this was a fantastic story, teaming her up with those two and trying to find her humanity and being tested by Darkseid. It was really, really a great story. They've even adapted that one into a DC animated movie as well. Definitely worth checking out. So what book out of all of these did I get that really kickstarted my desire to want to do this? And it was Action Comics 251, which is that first preview of Supergirl. And the very next issue is her first appearance. And I know some collectors out there care about those first preview pages, and I think it's interesting. I would like to definitely check it out. I've never flipped through here to look at it myself. So we're about to find that preview page before we leave. There it is. Wow. Introducing the Girl of Steel in Action Comics 252. So the first appearance of Kara Zor-El in comic books is right there. Definitely not in story, obviously, but the preview page puts her right there. So this is definitely a good one to have if you can't afford that 252, which is astronomical, especially right now post those announcements. This is a great one to get if you're interested in collecting some Supergirl keys. It flies under the radar. Hopefully that gives you a little lead on trying to get something while it's still affordable. And that's a decent low grade, is better than no grade copy, kind of mid grade. But yeah, super cool to have. Now that Supergirl first appearance is astronomical, but that first prototype Supergirl you can still get for a few $100s in a good copy raw, and it is seeing a rise. This isn't necessarily the best time to try to buy Supergirl keys right after those announcements, but it's a long time till that movie comes out, so I'm sure to see a little slump in the market between now and then if you're interested. But I appreciate everybody watching the video. Let me know if you've checked out anything Supergirl. I know here recently that Tom King miniseries, phenomenal. If you haven't read it, check it out. But leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of the video, what you think of Supergirl, and this wacky history that she has. And until next time, as always, I'm Mark, but we are Legion.